Hey guys, it's Mark again from Sattui. It's time for this month's Wine of the Month Club recipe. Wild caught salmon cakes with lemon yogurt sauce. And I promise you this recipe is so quick and easy, it's gonna be one of your favorites for summertime. And what I really love about it too is that it can be done in smaller size cakes for hors d'oeuvres or even in larger size cakes and do a nice salmon burger out of it as well. So let's get started. This recipe is the perfect pairing with either our 2020 Reserve Sauvignon Blanc from our Carcy Vineyard or 2020 Napa Valley Sauvignon Blanc. Both beautifully nice and dry, crisp, refreshing white wine. Now these notes of grapefruit, apple, pear, and that slight tropical finish with the minerality is what I'm going for as far as a complement pairing in this recipe. And the first ingredient we're going to get is some nice, soft French bread. And we're going to cut 6 nice slices from here, and about 1/4 inch thick. And we're going to want to remove at least the majority of the crust. We'll just slice off that crust from the top, the bottom, and the majority that you can get from the sides. And it's okay if there's a little left. It's actually going to bring some nice texture to the dish. Now, for those of you at home, I'm sure you're plenty familiar with crab cakes. Salmon cakes are even nice. They're lighter. I think even nicer for this type of weather, and especially for pairing up with Sauvignon Blanc. And this specific recipe, the way that we're going to prepare it, has a lot of mouthfeel and texture that crab cakes don't. They tend to seem a little bit more blended up or homogenized. So once we've got the majority of the crust cut off, we're going to take our chef's knife and chop it as small as we can. Really trying to basically mince your bread into the tiniest pieces. All right, so that's exactly what we're looking for. Some nice small breadcrumb-like material. And into a mixing bowl. And then we can begin to add some spices. And the first is a little coriander. And then cayenne for a little spunk, of course. Now the coriander I have in this dish to mirror some of the herbaceousness that our Sauvignon Blancs bring with them. Now once we've got our coriander, and by the way, coriander is the seed of the cilantro plant. A lot of folks don't know that one. It's sort of like oregano and marjoram. Marjoram being the flowering part of the oregano plant. So now that we got some salt, just a little bit of fresh cracked pepper, we're gonna go with 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. One large egg, and just take a fork and beat that till it's nicely blended. No more visible yolk. This goes into, of course, our mixing bowl as well. Now, lemon, and we're gonna need some zest of the lemon here. So using the little microplane, I always like this tool instead of your traditional grater. It takes less of the pith, the white part that has the bitters in it. And that's the last thing that we want to introduce to a dish with really bright acidity. Bitterness and acidity really don't match. They'll actually make it a little unpleasing to the palate. So we're going to stay away from pith. Now, we're going to reserve just a little bit, maybe a 1/4 of what we've just created off those 2 lemons. The rest of the zest is going to go directly into our salmon cake mix. We're also going to be doing some fresh herbs. And nothing too special here, just a nice dice on these. And we are going to actually reserve some of these chives as well. Maybe a 1/4 of what we've just created. And set that aside. The rest right into our salmon cake mix. And all these smells already starting to come together here in the kitchen. And last but not least, as far as the things that we need to get ready on the chopping board, is some Italian parsley. And just get rid of the majority of the stems. We just want those nice tender leaves. And it's always helpful because parsley doesn't really like to behave on the chopping board. You kind of have to end up chasing it all around. So it's helpful just to squish it sort of into a ball and pinch that down to the board with your fingers. And then you can go through and get a nice one-time, what the French call a chiffonade slice, a very thin slice. And all of this into our mix. And that's the other thing that I think you'll find is as you're making this dish, as it's coming together, there's a lot of amazing colors. So it's just so appeasing to the eye. So I've selected some really amazing fresh caught wild salmon. And this came with the bones out, so I don't have to worry about what's called the pin bones, but you can always feel for them. And when you look at a piece of salmon, there'll be this white line, separating line down the middle. And this is where you want to run your fingers. And if there's any bones left, you will feel them there. And with a little pair of tweezers, you can remove them. But mine are clean and free. And so we need to get rid of the skin. And the easiest way to do it, just lay your salmon down flat, start your knife on one end, and applying a little bit of downward pressure, you can just run the knife cleanly along and remove the skin. And we're going to do this. This is about a pound of this wild caught salmon. And I always will encourage everybody out there, whenever you're doing prep on a recipe and you see that you've got both vegetables and meat involved, always wait to process your meat last. That way your cutting board is not contaminated with the raw fish, of course, which would not be a great idea. Now from here, we're going to cut some strips down the salmon so that we can get a very nice small dice. And leaving this in these small chunks will have some amazing mouthfeel and some great meatiness. All right, got all of our salmon done. From here on out, it's just a matter of forming our cakes. So it's time to get your hands dirty. And this will also help to break down a little bit of the salmon. But what we want to do is give this a few minutes. It's okay if you want to keep this in your refrigerator for a few hours, even better. But we need to give this a few minutes so that that bread begins to really soak up all of the moisture that we added. So let's pop this in the fridge and clean up our station, and we'll get to the saute pan. All right, so now that our salmon cake mix has had a few minutes at least to set up, we're gonna have a nice large non-stick skillet, and to that add a good amount of olive oil or grapeseed oil mix, like I'm using, that has a little bit higher smoke point. We're just gonna form hand patties about the size of the palm of my hand is about what I like to do, and drop them directly into that medium-high hot pan there. And this recipe is going to make, about 10 smaller size cakes like this. And these are going to go for about 3 minutes on each side. All right, now time to flip. And you'll just start to notice they're getting a nice golden brown around the edges. That's when you know it's time. Oh, absolutely beautiful. All right, so one of the lemons that we took the zest from, we want the juice and no seeds, so give that a squeeze through the palm of your hand and just let the juice drain through and catch those seeds. We want the juice of this entire lemon. And I've got some beautiful fresh organic yogurt. We're going to add this too. And the remaining of the chives and the lemon zest that we had prepared earlier. And this is going to make this lemon yogurt sauce for a drizzle, or in place of the mayonnaise that you would put if you were using these to do a burger. All right, and I've got some fresh baby arugula and just a drizzle of olive oil, just a little salt and pepper. Don't need much. Again, we've got a lot of flavor in those cakes, but we don't just want it to be plain arugula. And we're gonna make a nice little bundle in the center here. And now it's time to grab our salmon cakes. Oh man, these smell fantastic. And let's see, I think I'll just layer 3 and drizzle right over the top of these with our yogurt lemon sauce. And I like to put just a little extra down here at the base for dipping. And there you have it, guys. Wild caught salmon cakes with lemon yogurt sauce. Can't wait to dig in. What a match made in heaven. So bright, so lively. Mirrors absolutely perfect with our Sauvignon Blancs, making such a harmonious marriage of all of these flavors. Oh, and the wine just shines. And until next time, you guys, eat well, drink well. This is how we do it in wine country. Cheers.